The night before the wedding, my best friend Su Changliang drunkenly drove and killed my father. It was also revealed that the child in my fiancé's belly was his. In fury, I smashed the wedding venue and demanded Su Changliang pay with his life. But Zhou Jiro and Su Changliang collaborated to frame me, attempting to have me forceful while committed to a psychiatric hospital. At my most desperate moment, Zhuang Chuqin, my childhood companion, stormed into the wedding, rescued me, and proposed to me on the spot. Not only did she call the police to send Su Changliang to prison, but she also handled my father's funeral arrangements for me and cared for me with meticulous attention to every detail. I became convinced that Zhuang Chuqin was the woman I should cherish most in this lifetime. But that day, I accidentally saw her chat records with Zhou Jiro. Zhou Jiro asked, "Marrying that worthless waste just for a forgiveness letter, are you truly content with this?" Zhuang Chuqin spoke coldly. "What does it matter if I'm unwilling? Only by marrying him can I sign the letter of understanding as family to protect Changliang. For Changliang's sake, my happiness isn't important." It turns out that the happy marriage I believed in was a conspiracy from the very beginning. Since this is the case, I won't participate in this carefully orchestrated farce any longer. The projector screen in the living room remained on, exposing my wife Zhuang Chuqin's chat dialogue with her former fiancé, Zhou Jiro, right before my eyes. Changliang has secretly stayed abroad for 3 years and wants to return. I lied to Su Jinyan that I want to travel the world and hand the company over to my brother. He's agreed. We'll take a cruise to international waters first. I've arranged personnel. He'll never return. Zhou Jiro sent a crying laughing emoji. Marrying that trash must have been humiliating for you. Good thing he'll die soon. Once he's dead, you can legitimately transfer the company to Changliang. You've suffered too much these years, maintaining your chastity for Changliang for 5 years. Compared to this, my 3 abortions because Changliang didn't want children yet don't seem so significant. By the way, remember to delete all chat records thoroughly. Don't let that trash suspect anything. Zhuang Chuqin fell silent for a moment before replying. Don't worry. My phone has a dual system set up. He won't detect it. Reading this long exchange, my mind went blank. My eyes stung fiercely, and my body trembled uncontrollably. So Su Changliang had killed my father in a drunk driving accident, yet no case had ever been filed. The murderer Su Changliang not only escaped legal consequences, but continued living freely and comfortably abroad. The mastermind behind all this was actually my beloved wife, Zhuang Chuqin. Back then, when the Zhou Corporation was on the brink of collapse, my father used a marriage alliance as a condition to save it, only if Zhou Jiro married me. But in Zhou Jiro's eyes, my father had deliberately torn her apart from Su Changliang for my sake. Thus, Su Changliang killed my father by crashing into him on the wedding day. After my father's death, I fell into despair. It was my childhood friend Zhuang Chuqin who bustled about for me, managing the massive company. Never did I expect that all her dedication to the company over the years, and her meticulous care for me, were solely to pave the way for Su Changliang by killing me. Her feelings for me were actually lies from start to finish, without even a shred of sincerity. No wonder I'd always wanted to travel abroad with Zhuang Chuqin, but she repeatedly claimed the company was too busy. Yet this time, she proactively suggested going overseas with me. So all of this was a scheme. Seeing Zhuang Chuqin return from the balcony, I wiped the tears from my face and quickly turned off the projection screen. She didn't notice my strangeness, yet the smile on her face couldn't be concealed. "Husband, I'll go shower first. You should rest early." Zhuang Chuqin approached as usual to give me a goodnight kiss, but I dodged it by turning sideways. She froze momentarily, then seemed to sigh in relief. "Is it because you haven't washed your face and don't want me to kiss you? Fine then." While Zhuang Chuqin went to shower, my gaze shifted to her phone. After 3 years of marriage, I'd maintained complete trust in her and never looked through her phone. But today, I picked up the phone, switched to the other system, and after a moment's hesitation, entered Su Changliang's birthday. The lock opened sure enough. The photos in the album, under different foreign addresses, all exclusively feature Su Changliang's presence. It turns out that every time Zhuang Chuqin lied to me about going abroad to discuss projects, she was actually traveling to various countries with Su Changliang to go on dates. I once thought she was my salvation, but now it seems I was utterly ridiculous. An invisible hand clutched at my heart, the pain so intense I struggled to breathe. I can no longer distinguish whether what suffocates me with pain is the murderer of my father still roaming free, or the betrayal of my wife of 3 years. Zhuang Chuqin walked in while drying her hair. Seeing me holding her phone, her face filled with panic as she rushed forward and snatched it away. "Who said you could touch my phone?" After 3 years of marriage, this was the first time Zhuang Chuqin had spoken to me in such a harsh tone. "I saw someone called you, so I glanced at it." I suppressed the sour ache in my chest and replied calmly. Zhuang Chuqin eyed her phone suspiciously. Seeing the system remained unchanged with only 1 missed call, her express Ion softened. Sorry, husband. I misunderstood you. Let me return this call first. Watching Zhuang Chuqin's retreating figure, a chill ran through my heart. That call, if I wasn't mistaken, must have been from Su Changliang. Sure enough, after returning the call, Zhuang Chuqin looked at me apologetically. Husband, I can't accompany you to your checkup tomorrow. There's an urgent business trip. Urgent matter? Tomorrow was clearly the day Su Changliang returned to the country. Fine. I understand. Since witnessing my father's death, I've developed severe psychological illness requiring monthly hospital checkups. In the past few years, Zhuang Chuqin had always accompanied me, but recently she's frequently made excuses to skip them. I couldn't understand it before. Now I do. Because in her plan, I'm about to die, so she no longer needs to keep up the pretense. All right, I'm going to rest. Good night, hubby. After saying this, Zhuang Chuqin turned and returned to her own room. For 3 years of marriage, Zhuang Chuqin had refused to share a bedroom with me, citing the psychologist's advice that I couldn't handle stimulation, even proposing separate rooms. Back then, I naively believed Zhuang Chuqin genuinely cared for me and foolishly agreed. But now it's clear, she was preserving her purity for Su Changliang. I stared deeply at Zhuang Chuqin's retreating figure and dialed my father's former, most trusted aide. Hello, Uncle Zhang. Please draft a divorce agreement for me. Also, I want to reclaim all of Zhuang Chuqin's shares in the company. One more thing. Investigate Su Changliang's situation. Uncle Zhang was the brother who built the business from scratch with my father, fiercely loyal, and one of the few people I can still trust now. The next day, Uncle Zhang brought me news that Su Changliang had already returned to the country. Has Ms. Zhuang picked him up? They're currently dining at the restaurant. Would you like to come see? I took a deep breath and asked Uncle Zhang to send me the location. After disguising myself, I headed to the restaurant. In the dining room, Zhuang Chuqin was placing a gift box in front of Su Changliang. Changliang, I spent ages choosing this watch. Do you like it? At first glance, the packaging looked familiar. A month earlier, I'd seen this exact wrapping in our living room. I initially thought it was Zhuang Chuqin's birthday gift for me, but on my birthday, all I received was a happy birthday and a kiss, nothing else. So this gift had been meant for Su Changliang all along. Su Changliang examined the $1 million watch, nodded with a smile, and immediately strapped it to his wrist. Then, his brow furrowed as he snapped irritably. Why haven't you finished off that useless fool yet? At this rate, when will I ever become chairman? Hearing Su Changliang's words, Zhuang Chuqin's face flashed with panic as she coaxed in a subservient manner. Changliang, don't be angry. Just endure a few more days. Once we're out at sea, he'll meet certain death. Though I knew Zhuang Chuqin had already betrayed me, witnessing this glaring scene still felt like a knife twisting in my heart. During our 3 years of marriage, I devoted all my efforts to respect and love her, yet she never truly cared for me. Even when Su Changliang treated her so poorly, she seemed to relish it. I couldn't bear to watch any longer. After closing the surveillance footage, I left. Late at night, Zhuang Chuqin finally returned home. Husband, why aren't you asleep yet? Seeing the living room lights still on, Zhuang Chuqin showed surprise, her eyes flickering with guilt before she affectionately approached to cling to my arm. Are you angry with me? I really couldn't accompany you for the checkup today. I'll go with you next time, okay? As soon as Zhuang Chuqin approached, I smelled cigarette smoke on her, Su Changliang's scent. Yet I distinctly remember Zhuang Chuqin had detested cigarette smells the most since childhood. When I remained silent, Zhuang Chuqin pulled something from her bag and placed it in my palm. Look, do you like it? I glanced down to see a watch strap. If I'm not mistaken, it was the free strap that came with the watch she gave Su Changliang this morning. In the past, I would have joyfully picked her up and spun around in excitement. But now, so in her eyes, I'm only worthy of being placated with free accessories. My fist clenched tighter and tighter until the watch strap deformed in my grip. I like it, I murmured softly. Zhuang Chuqin exhaled in relief before regarding me with apparent concern. How were your test results today? Any improvement? I stared at the woman before me as if seeing a stranger. Though she doesn't love me, even loathes me and wishes me dead, she effortlessly maintains this facade of feigned deep affection. The doctor said I've recovered and can return to work at the company. I took out the medical report and handed it to Zhuang Chuqin. When I was still unwell, Zhuang Chuqin had forbidden me from going to the office, claiming it was for my health. Later I discovered the first thing Zhuang Chuqin did after taking over the company was purge senior staff, bribing some, firing others, including Uncle Zhang. By the time I learned the truth, it was already too late. When confronted, she explained with teary eyes. They said I'm just the Su family daughter-in-law, unqualified to manage the company, and refused to obey me. I didn't want to tell you these humiliations, didn't want you to worry. Looking back now, I was really foolish to believe her lies and even comforted her in my arms. What? You want to return to work? Absolutely not. Ring this. Zhuang Chuqin's eyes widened as she angrily rejected the idea. Why not? My face turned cold as I frowned and asked. Zhuang Chuqin's expression shifted slightly. She immediately realized her impropriety and hurriedly hugged me with a smile, explaining, Darling, you've just recovered from your illness, and it's still unstable. It's not too late to discuss this after we return from our trip. Besides, the company only needs me. I can't bear to see you work so hard anyway. Zhuang Chuqin shook my hand and coquettishly pleaded. I subtly pushed her hand away and smiled. Fine, as you wish. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. I asked Uncle Zhang for a listening device and installed it in her bedroom before she returned. When I went back to my room, Zhuang Chuqin indeed called Zhou Zhiro. Zhiro, Su Jinyan's 3-year illness suddenly vanished today. Something feels off. Zhou Zhiro's careless voice replied. What's so strange about a good-for-nothing who got sick for 3 years just because his father died? Stop overthinking. He'll die soon anyway. Might as well reunite with his short-lived dad. If you're really scared, I smuggled some drugs from overseas that can cause mental instability. Give them to him. By the way, Changliang wants to stay in the presidential suite. Wire more money when you're short. The moment I heard Zhou Zhiro call my father a short-lived ghost, rage surged through my body like tidal waves. I even wanted to burst in and confront Zhou Zhiro, but I knew the time wasn't right yet. Since Zhou Zhiro mentioned smuggling drugs from overseas, there must be other things. Zhuang Chuqin's voice sounded slightly choked up. Okay, I understand. After Zhuang Chuqin hung up, I sent a message to Uncle Zhang. Asked him to find Su Changliang's current hotel, print out all remittance records Zhuang Chuqin sent to Su Changliang over 3 years, and investigate Zhou Zhiro and Su Changliang's overseas activities. The next day, Zhuang Chuqin left early in the morning. Knowing she was going to meet Zhou Zhiro, I disguised myself and followed her. In the cafe, Zhou Zhiro took out a box from her bag and handed it to Zhuang Chuqin. Here, this is the medicine for you. The plan is foolproof, right? I don't want to live in fear with Changliang anymore. Zhuang Chuqin accepted the box and nodded. Don't worry. Also, take good care of Changliang while I'm gone. Zhou Zhiro glanced at Zhuang Chuqin, a flash of disdain in her eyes, before nodding perfunctorily. You know we've been together for 3 years. Still not reassured. Watching this scene, I furrowed my brows. So Zhou Zhiro actually looks down on Zhuang Chuqin, treating her merely as a tool to kill someone with a borrowed knife and an ATM? How absurd. I actually love this woman, Zhuang Chuqin, who's perfected the art of self-degradation for 3 years. As Zhuang Chuqin stood up to leave, I also rose and deliberately bumped into her direction. The box in Zhuang Chuqin's hands fell to the ground, scattering a few pills. I quickly snatched one of the pills and clutched it in my palm. Muttering an apology in a lowered voice, I hurriedly walked out. After leaving, I placed the white pill into a bag and sent it off to the testing center. I discarded the clothes I'd worn that morning before returning home, pretending as if I had been there all along. It wasn't until evening that Zhuang Chuqin finally returned. The moment she arrived, she went straight to the kitchen. When she reappeared, she handed me a steaming glass of milk. Honey, a glass of milk before bed helps you sleep. Zhuang Chuqin smiled sweetly, but I knew. This milk was laced with drugs. Leave it there. I'll drink it later. At my refusal, Zhuang Chuqin frowned in displeasure. It won't taste good once it's cold. Drink it now. I knew she wouldn't relent until I complied. Picking up the glass, I drained it in one gulp. Watching me finish, Zhuang Chuqin curved her eyes into crescents with a satisfied smile. That's more like it. We can only enjoy our trip happily if you recover well. After Zhuang Chuqin left, I quickly went to the bathroom and vomited the milk. The test report soon arrived on my phone. Reading it, my heart froze. This medication was clearly a nationally prohibited drug. Zhou Zhiro's audacity was truly beyond measure. I forwarded the report to Uncle Zhang. After a moment of silence, he sent me his findings on Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro's activities abroad. 3 years ago, after Zhuang Chuqin helped Su Changliang forge his identity, she sent both him and Zhou Zhiro abroad via private jet. In a foreign country rife with drug abuse, the weak-willed Su Changliang quickly became addicted to drugs. With narcotics being exorbitantly priced, to sustain such high expenses, Su Changliang had no choice but to beg Zhuang Chuqin for money daily. Zhuang Chuqin grew suspicious, questioning Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro about their excessive spending. Naturally, Su Changliang couldn't let Zhuang Chuqin discover his drug addiction, so he was forced to reduce the frequency of his monetary requests. Then what about the expenses? Su Changliang thus embarked on the path of drug trafficking. Zhou Zhiro tried to dissuade Su Changliang, but he remained obstinate. Zhou Zhiro could only compromise for the man she deeply loved, joining him in drug trafficking overseas. After reading these messages, I closed my eyes wearily. When Zhou Zhiro was with me years ago, she wouldn't even dare to step on an ant. Yet now she could commit drug trafficking for Su Changliang. Over the following days, Zhuang Chuqin religiously brought me hot milk every day. What she didn't know was that I'd installed a pinhole camera in the kitchen long ago. I preserved all footage of her spiking my drink. I drank the milk in front of her each time, only to spit it out after she left. Soon arrived the day of our agreed-upon overseas trip. Zhuang Chuqin excitedly packed luggage while urging me, "Husband, why aren't you packing yet? If you don't hurry, we'll miss the ferry." I snapped the empty suitcase shut and smiled. "I've been packed long ago. Let's go." On the way to the cruise ship, Zhuang Chuqin excitedly pointed at the travel route while telling me, "Honey, we'll go to Japan first, then head north from Japan. All right, there's this particularly beautiful island near New Zealand. We could stay there for a while. This is amazing, honey. I can finally have some alone time with you." Watching Zhuang Chuqin's jubilant demeanor, waves of chill ran through my heart. Yet I maintained composure, smiling and agreeing whenever she grew animated. When we reached the ferry terminal, Zhuang Chuqin got out of the car and immediately tried to drag me aboard by hand. I violently shook her off. "Honey, what's wrong?" Zhuang Chuqin turned back, looking at me in surprise. "I'm not going," I said softly. "Don't joke like that, honey. We'll miss it. Let's board." Zhuang Chuqin thought I was teasing, reaching to grab my hand again. I smiled, took a step back, and clapped my hands. The next second, Uncle Zhang brought a group of people who escorted Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro out, forcing them to kneel before me. "My dear wife, look what I've brought." I smiled contentedly at Zhuang Chuqin's terror-stricken face. "Husband, what do you mean by this?" Zhuang Chuqin glanced at Su Changliang pinned to the ground, her eyes brimming with heartache, yet she kept pretending ignorance with me. "Shouldn't I be asking you that?" I raised my gaze, my eyes sharp as blades. "Didn't you claim Su Changliang was sent to prison? If he were truly incarcerated, how could he be here now?" Zhuang Chuqin's eyes darted nervously as she stammered and stuttered, unable to form a coherent sentence. "Chuqin, save me." Suddenly, Su Changliang struggled violently to break free, attempting to charge toward Zhuang Chuqin before being seized again by Uncle Zhang's men. Hearing Su Changliang's plea, Zhuang Chuqin abandoned all pretense and glared at me furiously. "Yes, I issued a letter of understanding for Changliang without your knowledge. But he was just drunk back then, not intentional. How dare you treat him like this now?" Zhuang Chuqin finished speaking and rushed towards Su Changliang, only to be blocked by Uncle Zhang. "Su Jinyan, release them." Listening to the approaching police sirens, I spread my palms. Save those words for the police. I had long submitted evidence of Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro's overseas drug trafficking to the authorities. Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro were taken away by the police. Staring at Zhuang Chuqin slumped on the floor, I threw the divorce agreement before her. "Zhuang Chuqin, let's divorce." Returning home, I began packing my belongings. Gazing at the wedding photo on the wall, I sank into a daze. The eyes in the photo held not a trace of love. Why had I been fooled by her for 3 years? I smiled self-deprecatingly, took down the wedding photo, and threw it into the trash. The next second, the front door was opened. It was Zhuang Chuqin. Without looking up, I continued packing my things. "Let's get the divorce certificate when you have time." After a moment, there was still no response. I looked up in puzzlement, only to see Zhuang Chuqin's face streaked with tears. "Su Jinyan, I won't agree to the divorce." I did bail Su Changliang out, but that was just help between friends. Even so, our 3 years of feelings can't be fake. For these 3 years, I've worked tirelessly to manage the company for you. Even if there's no merit, there's hard work, isn't there? Hubby, I can't bear to part with you. I don't want a divorce. I had no intention of sparing Zhuang Chuqin yet, planning to settle Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro first. But judging from Zhuang Chuqin's current attitude, it seems she doesn't realize I already know she's plotting to kill me. Every time she shows weakness toward me, there's always an ulterior motive. This time, I want to see what exactly she's planning to do. Fine, then let's not divorce. Zhuang Chuqin hadn't expected me to agree so readily. She froze for a moment, her eyes flashing with a hint of delight. But, I continued, "You can no longer go to the company, and your shares must be fully returned to me." Zhuang Chuqin hesitated for a second before nodding. "Okay, as long as we don't divorce, I'll do whatever you say." That night, Zhuang Chuqin, who had always insisted on sleeping separately, came to my room. "Husband, didn't the doctor say you've recovered? So can we?" She blushed coyly as she leaned closer. In the past, seeing the woman I loved take such initiative would have stirred my desires instantly. But now, my heart remained icy calm. Instinct told me her visit was anything but innocent. "After all these years, I've grown used to sleeping alone. Return to your room." I refused. A flicker of unwillingness flashed in Zhuang Chuqin's eyes, but she masked it swiftly. "All right, it's better to let you rest a little longer anyway." Sensing Zhuang Chuqin's unusual behavior, I installed a pinhole camera in my own room. The next day, I deliberately left for the company under the pretext of work and stayed away the entire day. I rehired Uncle Zhang and company Viter, ANS, whom Zhuang Chuqin had fired, offering double salaries, while dismissing those who had accepted bribes from her. After work, I checked the footage and indeed saw Zhuang Chuqin entering my room. Zhuang Chuqin sneaked into the room, clutching a bag of white powdery substance, which she stuffed into my cabinet. Is this drugs? But how could Zhuang Chuqin obtain drugs? After a moment of clarity, I understood. Su Changliang gave them to her. My eyes turned cold as I floored the accelerator and drove straight home. When I returned, Zhuang Chuqin had prepared a table full of dishes. Seeing me, she happily waved me over to eat. I ignored her completely, marched to the room, retrieved the white powder she'd hidden in my cabinet, and threw it before her. Speak, what is this? Zhuang Chuqin was stunned. She never expected that I would discover it. Defeated, she collapsed onto a chair, then suddenly raised her head to glare at me with eyes filled with hatred. If you hadn't framed Changliang and sent him to prison, would I have done this to you? I framed him. I laughed bitterly in anger. Changliang never did drugs. Don't think I don't know. You fabricated evidence to take revenge and imprison him. How could you be so vicious? He didn't do drugs? I retrieved various photos of Su Changliang as a drug addict overseas and threw them before Zhuang Chuqin. Her hands trembling, Zhuang Chuqin flipped through the photos before finally covering her face in bunkai, weeping silently. He said he was innocent, that you framed him. I believed him. As these words left her lips, a long-brewing suspicion surged from the depths of my mind. Sighing, I handed her a tissue. I've always had a question. Why did you like Su Changliang so much? We grew up together, and in my memory, you clearly had no real interaction with Su Changliang. Zhuang Chuqin stopped crying and began telling me her high school story. She said during high school, due to college entrance exam pressure, her weight suddenly increased. Boys in class would mock her as fat, chubby, and make vulgar jokes whenever they saw her. This made her extremely insecure and unable to focus on studies. But one day, these hurtful comments suddenly stopped. Curious, she inquired and learned Su Changliang had beaten up those boys who called her fat, warning them to never speak such nonsense again. Recalling this, Zhuang Chuqin still wore a blissful expression. Changliang saved me from living hell. How could I not love him? Hearing this, I instead felt relieved. Then would you like to hear another story? Under Zhuang Chuqin's puzzled gaze, I began to narrate slowly. There was a little boy who knew from childhood that he should protect girls, especially the little sister who grew up with him. After entering high school, the little sister suddenly started saying she was fat every day, though he never saw it that way. He only thought she'd become more adorable. Then one day, the little sister tearfully told him that boys in her class often mocked her about it. How could he tolerate this? He immediately rushed to their classroom, beat up all the boys who laughed at her, and warned them never to mock her again. The senior students' intimidation worked. Those teasing boys all shut their mouths. As he was leaving, a boy suddenly asked for his name. Afraid of causing psychological burden to the little sister, he gave the name of his good brother, Su Changliang. It was you? So it was you all along. Zhuang Chuqin's face turned as pale as paper, tears streaming down like broken beads. At that moment, her world seemed to collapse. All the hope and love she had pursued turned out to be misunderstandings, dissipating into nothingness. Not only had she loved the wrong person, but she also betrayed and hurt the one she should have loved. Zhuang Chuqin huddled in the corner, clutching herself tightly, her voice trembling so badly it was almost unrecognizable. I'm sorry, Jinyan. I've wronged you, and Uncle Su too. I watched her coldly, not a single ripple of emotion in my heart. She had indeed wronged me, wronged my father. But a belated apology is cheaper than grass. Zhuang Chuqin wiped her tears and pulled out the divorce agreement I'd given her from her bag, signing her name with finality. Jinyan, I suppose you already know everything? Including my plot to harm you in international waters. I neither confirmed nor denied it. Zhuang Chuqin smiled, yet her eyes were filled with sorrow. Jinyan, I'll turn myself in. I'll also divorce you. Could you take a walk with me? Noticing the wariness in my eyes, Zhuang Chuqin's eyes dimmed for a moment before she smiled and explained. This time, I really just want you to accompany me for a walk. I agreed, considering she probably wouldn't try anything against me anymore. Zhuang Chuqin took me to the old residences of our two families. Pointing at the garden in front of the ancestral home, Zhuang Chuqin said excitedly, Brother Jinyan, we loved playing here as children, remember? There used to be a swing here. I'd sit on it while you pushed me from behind. Brother Jinyan? How long had it been since she last called me that? Probably since high school, when she started liking Su Changliang. Seeing my indifferent expression, Zhuang Chuqin's smile turned bitter. Can't remember? It's fine. It's really been too long anyway. Zhuang Chuqin then took me to our high school campus. Gazing at the honor roll display, her voice brimmed with nostalgia. Brother Jinyan, do you remember? Back in high school, we promised to attend the same university. Zhuang Chuqin's voice gradually softened as she continued. Of course I remember. We had vowed to enter Jingbei University. I got admitted, and Zhuang Chuqin's scores also met the requirements. Just when I thought we'd attend the same university, she chose an ordinary second-tier institution for Su Changliang's sake. At that time, unaware she had developed feelings for Su Changliang because of that incident, I was naturally furious and even wanted her to repeat senior year. Yet she insisted, once I make a decision, no one can change it. Zhuang Chuqin gazed at the school's azure sky, her eyes revealing sentiments I couldn't discern. Brother Jinyan, do you think, if I had gone to Jingbei University with you, you wouldn't have met Zhou Zhiro? Would we have married after graduation, without any interference? Enough. I interrupted mercilessly. There aren't so many what-ifs, Zhuang Chuqin. We stopped walking the same path long ago. Zhuang Chuqin's expression dimmed for a moment before she nodded again. Brother Jinyan is right. We stopped being kindred spirits long ago. As we walked, Zhuang Chuqin came to a stop in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Before turning myself in, let's finalize the divorce. I hadn't expected Zhuang Chuqin to cooperate so readily and nodded in agreement. By the time we finished processing the divorce certificate, evening had arrived. The setting sun cast golden red hues across the sky, creating an illusion of tranquil days. After escorting Zhuang Chuqin to the police station entrance, I turned to leave but was halted by her voice. Brother Jinyan, after I come out, will there still be a chance for me? I shook the divorce certificate in my hand. Zhuang Chuqin, our ties are severed. Without glancing back at her expression, I walked away. On the day Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro's case went to trial, I attended as the evidence provider. The moment Su Changliang saw me, he seemed extremely agitated, while Zhou Zhiro beside him remained calm, though her gaze towards me was somewhat complex. Drug trafficking was a serious crime. Su Changliang and Zhou Zhiro were sentenced to life imprisonment. Before serving their sentences, they requested to meet with me. I agreed. Su Changliang questioned me vehemently through the iron bars. Where's Zhuang Chuqin? How did you see through all this? Facing my father's murderer, it was impossible not to feel anger. My hands clenched tightly into fists as I coldly replied. She turned herself in. Su Changliang looked incredulous at this answer. Impossible. Even for me, she wouldn't have turned herself in. I laughed. You knew perfectly well why she liked you. A flicker of guilt passed through Su Changliang's eyes before he adopted a defiant expression. So what? You were the first to use my name. I just went with the flow. I took a deep breath, suppressing the hatred in my heart. Then what about my father? Why did you kill him? Su Changliang glanced at me and snorted in derision. So what if I killed him? What are you going to do about it? I just don't understand. We're both human beings. Why did you get such a great family background while I got nothing? And you always acted so high and mighty. I don't need your charity. Hearing Su Changliang's words, I suddenly remembered. After graduation, Su Changliang had tried to start a business like others, but not only failed, also accumulated massive debts. It was me who repaid all his debts out of brotherly bond, and even arranged a position for him in our company. In his eyes, all of this was merely my condescending charity. Father, it was my mistake in judging character. I saved an ungrateful wolf. It was me who harmed you. I clenched my jaw tightly, the disgust and hatred in my heart roaring forth like a raging inferno. If not for the iron bars separating us, I had no doubt I would tear Su Changliang to pieces. Unable to bear the sight of Su Changliang any longer, I turned and left to meet Zhou Zhiro. This was the first time I had seen her up close in so long. The current Zhou Zhiro was starkly different from the one I remembered. Perhaps due to the adage, proximity to corruption taints, she now exuded an aura I detested. Jinyan, it's been a long time. I had no interest in pleasantries. What do you want? Noticing my coldness, Zhou Zhiro pressed her lips together and paused before speaking. Jinyan, I've missed you. Missed me? Is missing me calling me trash? Plotting with Zhuang Chuqin to kill me? Urging her to drug me? If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I turned to go, but she stopped me. Jinyan, if I hadn't fled our wedding back then, would our family of 3 be happy now? I left without answering. I don't understand why they always indulge in these empty, hypothetical what-ifs. Clearly, they have already inflicted substantial harm upon me, yet they use these ifs to feign profound affection. I step out of the prison, sunlight bathing my body with warmth and comfort. Leaving the past behind me, I stride forward with purpose.